Wang Lin sat in the lotus position inside the cave and took out the bag Du Tian had given him. After scanning it with his divine sense, his expression became strange. He knew that Du Tian had taken a lot of celestial jades, but he didn't know the exact number. Whenever those sects handed over the celestial jades, Du Tian would instantly put them inside this bag. Now that he saw them, he couldn't help but feel shocked. This tiny bag contains more than 100 times the celestial jades I got from the celestial realm. No wonder this soul refining sect has had so many soul transformation cultivators. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He shook the bag and then a large number of celestial jades surrounded him. In an instant, the cave was filled with rich celestial spiritual energy. This was only a portion of what was in the bag. Wang Lin carefully put the bag away and began to cultivate to absorb the celestial spiritual energy. The celestial spiritual energy flooded into his body and began to refine the spiritual energy inside him. Wang Lin had already experienced this before, so he easily started it again to begin his breakthrough to the soul transformation stage. As a large amount of celestial spiritual energy entered his body, all of the spiritual energy inside him condensed into a ball. This ball was like a cultivator's golden core, but the difference was like heaven and earth. 3 days later, the celestial jades around Wang Lin turned gray and cracks appeared on them. Then they finally turned to dust. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to slap the bag once more. He took out a large number of celestial jades again. The absorption of celestial spiritual energy never stopped. It quickly entered Wang Lin's body to refine the spiritual energy inside him as well as his flesh and bones. The first step to the soul transformation stage is to completely refine the body, so that it can withstand the power of celestial spiritual energy. Before the celestial realm collapsed, there was no need to do all of this. All they had to do was go into the spirit cleansing pool for a few months to rid themselves of their mortal bodies, and obtain one that could withstand celestial spiritual energy. However, now that the celestial realm is destroyed and the spirit cleansing pools are gone, cultivators need a large number of celestial jades to remove their mortal roots. When one's mortal roots are completely removed, the first step is complete. The second step is for one's origin soul to go from non-corporeal to corporeal. Although it can't replace the physical body, a corporeal origin soul is several times more powerful and has the ability to protect itself. A way to look at it is like this: the nascent soul is like a baby and the origin soul is the baby growing up to become a youth. Next, the soul transformation stage brings about a mysterious change. The youth grows up into a powerful young adult with weapons in his hands. At this stage, the origin soul is far more powerful than an origin soul at the soul formation stage. Situnan's soul being so large is a sign that he has broken past the soul transformation stage. Even an ascendant cultivator soul is the same size as a soul transformation cultivator's. Only when one breaks past the ascendant stage to the next step will there be other changes. However, that level was too far for Wang Lin to consider. Time slowly passed. A large number of the celestial jades in his bag had already been absorbed, and surrounding him were marks of celestial jades that had turned to dust. The ball of spiritual energy in his dantian cracked on this day, and a powerful suction force came from the crack. All of the celestial spiritual energy Wang Lin had absorbed was sucked in. Even the celestial jades he had just taken out turned to dust as the celestial spiritual energy from them was sucked into that crack. The ball of spiritual energy gradually changed colors. It had started out green and was now glowing gold. Wang Lin's mind was still clear, so he calmly watched the change in his body as if he was watching someone else. Shortly after, when all of the celestial spiritual energy was absorbed by the ball of spiritual energy, the ball became completely golden. If one were to pull it out of his body, it would look exactly like a golden core. Just at this moment, the golden core trembled and then more and more cracks appeared on it. Then with a bang, all of the celestial spiritual energy in Wang Lin's body rushed outwards and pushed his origin soul out until it was 3 inches away from him. He tried to return it, but there was a powerful force preventing him. Wang Lin's origin soul floated above his body. When he looked down, he could see all the changes happening to his origin soul. When the golden core shattered, the force of the celestial spiritual energy shattered all of the meridians in his body. Right now his body was like an empty shell filled with celestial spiritual energy. All of the pores on his body opened and released strands of celestial spiritual energy. Shortly after, All of the celestial spiritual energy that came out of his pores went back into his body through his orifices. This process turned into a cycle. Wang Lin's body gradually became transparent, and then his clothes slowly disappeared. His 2 bags of holding fell to the ground. The celestial spiritual energy slowly formed meridians inside his body. These meridians were made of celestial spiritual energy, so they would naturally be able to withstand the power of celestial spiritual energy. The flesh on his body started to change too as celestial spiritual energy began to ingrain into this body. Right now he looked like a celestial being. This process of changing his entire body lasted an unknown amount of time. For this whole period of time, Wang Lin's origin soul was floating above his body. He tried countless times to re-enter his body but was stopped outside. It was as if the body no longer belonged to him, and he could not fuse with it anymore. On this day, his body began to release a fragrance. This fragrance was very alluring. It was as if some spirit herb had just been unearthed. The fragrance floated out of the cave, causing Du Tian's eyes to light up. His eyes revealed a glint of admiration and he sighed. The first step to the soul transformation stage, body refinement, is complete. Now it's time for the second step, origin soul refining. His hand formed a seal. Then a black light immediately surrounded the cave and prevented the fragrance from spreading. The fragrance that results from completing the first step of the soul transformation stage attracts powerful beasts and devils that want to possess the body. However, my soul refining sex specializes in souls, so it's fine if those devils don't come, but if they do, then they can become food for the 1 billion soul flag. I'm not afraid of those beasts either. The soul refining sex protection formation can keep them all outside. There hasn't been a beast that could make me scared yet. This one dangerous trial of reaching the soul transformation stage was nothing to Wang Lin with Du Tian protecting him. But for those rogue cultivators or weak sects, it was life-threatening. During the transformation, the origin soul is forced out of the body and the body is left defenseless. If there are some powerful devils or souls around, they can easily possess or devour the body. Even beasts are very interested in a body that has just reached the soul transformation stage. To them, the body is like a natural treasure, and devouring it would increase their strength. Once the origin soul returns to the body and claims the energy inside, then the body becomes useless to the beasts. Inside the cave, Wang Lin reached out with his origin soul and took out a large number of celestial jades. This time the celestial spiritual energy wasn't absorbed by the body, but by his origin soul. A very comfortable feeling filled Wang Lin's soul. He could feel the celestial spiritual energy enter his origin soul, causing it to become larger and more corporeal. At this moment, Wang Lin understood that once his origin soul becomes corporeal, he will be able to re-enter his body, and he will have successfully reached the soul transformation stage. It takes a very long time for the origin soul to become corporeal. Outside the cave, Du Tian's eyes lit up and he waved his left hand. A golden-purple primary soul flew out, grabbed a black rogue soul and dragged it into the soul flag. Du Tian muttered, "This is already the 19th one already. Unfortunately, they are all soul formation soul fragments. If there was a soul transformation one, then the soul flag would have another primary soul." Just at this moment, a golden-purple light flew in from the distance. The protection formation didn't stop it, so it charged directly to the cave. Du Tian's eyes lit up and he let out a laugh. He had made it so that the formation wouldn't stop souls. That was why they had been getting in. Good come. Du Tian's eyes lit up and he moved. He jumped into the air and reached toward the golden-purple soul. The golden-purple light disappeared and dodged Du Tian's hand, then it charged toward the cave. Seeing that the soul fragment was about to enter the cave, Du Tian quickly moved and in an instant appeared before the soul fragment. He laughed. "Unfortunately, you haven't reached the soul transformation stage. You are only at the border. You won't be able to escape." His hand formed a seal and a giant vortex appeared. Du Tian shouted, "Soul vortex!" The soul fragment let out a scream and quickly backed up, but Du Tian was one step ahead. He said, "Capture!" A powerful suction force came from the vortex, and the golden-purple soul fragment was dragged toward the vortex. Du Tian let out a smile, but just at this moment, a loud bang came from the soul-refining sex protection formation. The formation trembled and then completely collapsed. This loud bang immediately echoed throughout the soul-refining sect. Even the three main mountains trembled as a large number of rocks fell off and cracks appeared on them, terrifying the disciples inside. In the sky, a red figure wearing a red robe appeared. This figure gave off an unimaginably powerful aura. At this moment, the sky lost its color and only this figure existed. Zhu Kz. Du Tian's expression was very ugly. He didn't have time to play with this soul fragment, so he waved the 1 billion soul flag and captured it. Du Tian. Zhu Kz was wearing a fiery red robe and his hair was moving without any wind. Although he looked ancient, he still exuded a very oppressive aura. This person casually stood there as the sky darkened. All of the light was coming from his fiery robe, completely displaying his dominance over planet Suzaku. One couldn't feel a strand of spiritual energy or even celestial spiritual energy in his body, but early-stage ascendant cultivators would be forced to retreat, and even mid-stage ascendant old monsters would unconsciously back up. He was the only late-stage ascendant cultivator on planet Suzaku, the true ruler of planet Suzaku, Zhu Kz calmly said. Back then, my country of Suzaku made an agreement with your soul-refining sect. When the country of Suzaku is in danger, you must lend us the 1 billion soul flag. Today this old man is here to borrow the flag. Du Tian, bring it here. Nonsense. Du Tian gripped the 1 billion soul flag tightly as he stared at Zhu Kz and shouted, How come I have never heard of this agreement from any of the ancestors before? Old thief Zhu K, if you want to steal it, just come and take it. No need to put on this disgusting act. Zhu Kz looked at Du Tian, shook his head slightly and sighed. This matter was decided between the first-generation Suzaku and your founding ancestor, so it's natural that you don't know about, but I found out about it in some old records. Today I'm not here to steal but to borrow. With that he reached out. The sky changed colors and red light gathered from all directions. The red light formed a giant red hand that pressed down toward Du Tian. Du Tian shouted, Old thief! He waved the soul flag and without any hesitation released all 1 billion soul fragments. Aside from the fourth soul, the remaining 35 primary souls were also sent out. Everything 100 kilometers was covered in soul fragments. Their screams and shrills filled the area. The combined voice of the 1 billion soul fragments was more powerful than any soundwave treasure. The earth within 100 kilometers began to tremble, and the surrounding mountains collapsed. The 35 primary souls of the 1 billion soul fragment all had fierce expressions as they tore the red hand to pieces. Then they surrounded Zhu Kz and stared at him viciously. Zhu Kz looked at the surrounding 1 billion soul fragments. His pupils shrank slightly as he calmly said, Du Tian, since you remain so stubborn, this old man will have to punish you in place of your ancestors. I said I only wanted to borrow the 1 billion soul flag. So I'll borrow it and then I will return it to you. Du Tian laughed with mockery in his eyes. Borrow? How long do you want to borrow it for? Zhu Kz's expression was serious as he said, Lend it to the country of Suzaku for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, we will naturally return it. Old thief Zhu K, my soul refining sect has a saying, if the flag is here, the sect still exists. If you want it, you can try to take it. Du Tian's eyes became cold as his hands formed a seal, and then he pointed at Zhu Kz. Fuse! The surrounding 1 billion soul fragments immediately began to gather on the 35 primary souls, and then the primary souls began to fuse with each other. Zhu Kz's eyes lit up. He couldn't allow this fusion to continue. He reached out and a red feather appeared in his hand. He sent the feather forward. Then it suddenly began to burn and release a ghostly light. Holy Suzaku flame! Zhu Kz's ancient voice boomed from his mouth. The burning feather trembled and suddenly collapsed. A surge of fire began to spread with the feather as the center and immediately covered the surrounding 100 kilometers. The power of this flame was unimaginable. The three mountains of the soul refining sect were turned into black viscous liquid. However, this liquid quickly turned to gas. Even the cave Wang Lin was in disappeared, and Wang Lin disappeared along with the cave. The entire soul refining sect disappeared from planet Suzaku. The hundreds of disciples and even the 3 soul formation elders hiding in the 3 golden rings weren't able to escape this calamity. The 35 primary soul fragments that were about to fuse were also surrounded by the fire. Black gas was floating up from their bodies, and they all had painful expressions on their faces. Holy Suzaku Flame. Du Tian's face was very ugly. There were 3 ancient jades floating around him. They were blocking the flame. Zhu Kei's expression was calm as he slowly said, Du Tian, the heavens are just. I originally didn't want to do this, but you forced me. Du Tian took a deep breath, bit the tip of his tongue, spat out a large mouthful of blood, and sat down in the lotus position. Then his hand formed a seal and he said, Soul Escape. Du Tian wasn't his original name but his Taoist name that his teacher had given him. He once told Wang Lin that all users of the soul flag have different ways of using it, and his special method was escaping. The 35 primary souls released a green light and then disappeared from within the fire. When they reappeared, they were before Du Tian. What's this? Zhu Keizi was surprised. Fuse! Du Tian spat out more blood. This time the blood landed on one of the primary souls. Then, in an instant, the 34 other primary souls fused with it. In the blink of an eye, an aura that could match Zhu Keizi appeared and the sky seemed to have been split in two. The left side was fiery red, representing Zhu Keizi. The right side was black, representing the late-stage ascendant soul formed by the 35 primary souls and 1 billion soul fragments. The moment this soul fragment appeared, it waved its hand, pushing all of the flames that were on the right side to the left side. Like the sky, the ground was split between black and red. Zhu Keizi's pupils shrank. His expression was a bit ugly as he stared at the soul and said, Not bad. With that power, it can be considered the top treasure of planet Suzaku. Du Tian's face was deathly pale. He only had less than 2 years left, and now that he had used the soul flag's fusion technique, he was almost out of time. He softly whispered, Kill him. The late-stage ascendant soul fragment didn't go forward but raised its hand. A rumbling sound came from all directions as clouds gathered to form a human-shaped body. This body was made of clouds and at a glance was no different from a mortal. The ascendant soul fragment took a step forward and fused with the body made of clouds. The cloud person opened his ghostly eyes and stared at Zhu Keizi. To form a body from the clouds, that is indeed only something late-stage ascendant cultivators can do. However, you are created from fusion. I want to see how long you can last. Zhu Keizi's expression was ugly. With that, he waved his hand. A red light appeared in front of him and transformed into a short, red sword. The moment the sword appeared, the flame on the ground was sucked into the sword. This sword is very ancient and no one knows its true name. The first generation Suzaku got it and named it the Suzaku sword. With that, Zhu Keizi pointed at the sword with his right hand. The flying sword immediately glowed red, as if it were filled with celestial spiritual energy. This sword was no different from the sword of a celestial. This sword was a celestial treasure. The cloud person's eyes lit up and he waved his right hand. His entire right hand flew off and became a sword that was the same as the Suzaku sword. Aside from the color, it looked exactly the same as the Suzaku sword. Even the enormous amount of celestial spiritual energy was the same. Then he pointed at Zhu Keizi and the small white sword shot forth. The red and white swords collided with each other like meteors. After a series of collisions, the white sword was clearly no match and was pushed back. However, the red sword had taken hits from the white sword's powerful celestial spiritual energy, so it was slowed down. The cloud person stared at Zhu Keizi and let out a faint smile. Then his cloud body collapsed to form 8 more copies of the exact same sword. Each one of them contained an enormous amount of celestial spiritual energy. The 8 swords shot out at once. 3 of them went after the Suzaku sword and the remaining 5 went toward Zhu Keizi. Zhu Keizi's expression was ugly as he backed up few hundred feet. He slapped his bag of holding to take out a gourd, then he muttered, Collect! The 5 swords were surrounded by a powerful force and then, in the blink of an eye, were trapped inside the gourd. Zhu Keizi's eyes lit up. He was about to use the gourd to collect the 3 other swords, but just at that moment, he heard crackling sounds coming from the gourd. A second later, a heaven-shattering sound escaped from it. With a bang, the gourd shattered. The 5 swords flew out and stabbed toward Zhu Keizi without any hesitation. At the same time, the swords that were fighting the Suzaku sword seemed to have received an order, because they ditched the Suzaku sword and quickly flew over. Zhu Keizi's expression changed greatly and he quickly backed up. It was not that he was no match, But the soul formed by the soul flag was filled with death and was attacking him without any regard for its own safety. Although he was confident he could win, he would definitely be injured. Normally it wouldn't matter, but right now he didn't have much lifespan left either. If he was injured here, his lifespan would shorten. Another important matter was that the second battle with the Forsaken Immortal clan had already begun. If he got injured here, it would be very unfortunate. However, although he wanted to retreat, the swords formed by the cloud person were even faster than lightning, so they quickly approached him. Zhu Kezi's eyes were gloomy as his hand created a seal before him. The moment this seal appeared, a powerful aura surrounded Zhu Kezi. At this moment the flying swords arrived. Boom! A sound that shook the entire continent burst forth. Zhu Kezi flew back like a meteor and didn't stop for a while. The seal before him had collapsed. Although he wasn't injured, his face was deathly pale and the air of superiority he was emitting had disappeared. The 9 flying swords disappeared and turned back into soul fragments. Du Tian looked at the scene before him and bitterly said, "The mysterious Suzaku seal. The mysterious Suzaku seal is a spell that only each generation Suzaku can learn. It can't be cultivated and is inherited from the previous Suzaku. This seal wasn't created by the first generation Suzaku. It is a spell that was given to them by the Cultivation Union. This mysterious Suzaku seal won't increase one's cultivation level, but it is very powerful. There are only 2 uses for it: attacking and defending. Its attack can destroy everything and its defense is even stronger than the entire Suzaku formation, even when it's protecting just one person. No one knows how the Cultivation Union managed to create this spell. On a rank 6 cultivation planet, only one person can know the spell at a time. Unless that person dies, no one else can use it. Even if the previous Suzaku is somehow still alive, when the current Suzaku learns the mysterious Suzaku seal, the previous Suzaku loses the power of the seal. Rumor has it that using the mysterious Suzaku seal has some cost, but only the people who have learned the spell know of the cost. The seal Zhu Kezi had just used was that seal. The cloud person shattered. Du Tian's face was deathly pale as he stared at Zhu Kezi. Then he suddenly started laughing. "My lifespan is almost all gone. To be able to see an old thief like you in this state is pretty satisfying." Zhu Kezi's expression was ugly and he was panting. He wouldn't have used the mysterious Suzaku seal unless he had to, especially if it was to use the seal to attack. He used it because he needed to keep himself in top condition for the battle against the Forsaken Immortal clan. Du Tian, your soul refining sect was once a branch of Suzaku, and your ancestors fought alongside the first generation Suzaku against the Forsaken Immortal clan. Why must you be so stubborn today? If you hand over the soul flag, I will help you rebuild the sect, help you gather disciples, and even help you make the soul refining sect its own country again. Du Tian's eyes lit up and then he let out a mischievous smile. "Old thief Zhu Ke, I see through you now. You are afraid of getting hurt. Otherwise, you wouldn't have ended up in such an embarrassing position. The war with the Forsaken Immortal clan has already started. I'm afraid you won't be able to stay here for long." Zhu Kezi frowned and coldly said, "Although the 11-leaf ancestor of the Forsaken Immortal clan is strong, I have an ace up my sleeve. Once that is revealed, the Forsaken Immortal clan will die for sure. Du Tian, I'll ask you one last time. Will you hand over the soul flag?" Du Tian's eyes became cold. He took a cold breath and waved his hand. A golden-purple light began to flash on the flag, but it was unstable. "Old thief Zhu Ke, I advise you to leave now and not force me to bring out the 4th soul." Du Tian's voice was filled with determination. Zhu Kezi's expression was ugly, but he sneered inside. He had been waiting for the 4th soul to appear. In fact, what he really wanted all along was the 4th soul. Every generation of Suzaku has studied the 4th soul in hopes of finding a way to defeat the 1 billion soul flag. Zhu Kezi was 80% confident in beating it. That was why he came today. After pondering a bit, Zhu Kezi slowly said, "I have read about the power of the 4th soul in records, but I haven't seen it in person. Borrowing this chance, I really want to see just what is so special about this 4th soul." Du Tian clenched his teeth and pointed at his forehead with his left hand. He took out a ball of golden light and quickly pressed it onto the soul flag. The golden purple dot on the soul flag quickly flew out. The world is divided into 5 elements that neutralize each other. and create different types of spirit roots. Having 1 element means you can cultivate, have 2 means you are smart, having 3 means you have talent, having 4 means you have heavenly talent, and having 5 means you are complete. The 5 elements are metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Having 2 is rare, have 3 is even more rare, having 4 is almost unheard of, and no one has even heard of anyone having all 5. The 4th soul was a rare person who had had 3 elements, but this talent didn't manifest when he was alive. He lived like most and died when he was at the soul transformation stage. But the soul refining sect refined his soul with a special technique that turned it into something that could threaten even late-stage ascendant cultivators. To capture this soul, one requires a lot of determination, and they must open the cultivation planet crystal when one's lifespan is almost up. This part of the record flashed through Zhu Chua's head. Zhu Kezi said in a serious tone, 3 metal soul. Du Tian let out hoarse laugh. His eyes were dim because the last of his lifespan has just been used to activate the 4th soul. The 4th soul couldn't be brought out via normal means. One must give up their life force to call it out of the soul flag. The moment the 4th soul appeared, it released a blinding golden purple glow. Inside the glow was only one thing. A thin needle. This needle wasn't large, only as long as a thumb. It gave off a very powerful aura. Far more powerful than the aura the Suzaka sword gave off. 3 metal soul was a heavenly treasure that could penetrate all substances, and its soul force could even harm origin souls. Du Tian's eyes lit up and he said, 4th soul kill. The golden purple needle flashed and disappeared. Zhu Kezi's expression changed as he quickly backed up. At the same time he waved his hand, causing the Suzaka sword to block before him. With a ding, a needle-sized hole appeared on the Suzaka sword. At the same time, Zhu Kezi let out a roar as he pointed to the air with his index finger. Celestial spiritual energy surged through his body, and he pressed down with his index finger. With a bang, Zhu Kezi backed up 3 steps. The golden purple light had disappeared without a trace once more. But Zhu Kezi knew that the 4th soul was still around. His expression was cold as he said, the 4th soul is indeed strong. But Du Tian, if you were at the early stage of ascendant and had used celestial spiritual energy beyond what a soul transformation cultivator can, you would be able to make it even faster and more powerful. I would have to run today if that were the case. However, if you want to kill me, the 4th soul isn't fast enough. Zhu Kezi's words had a purpose. The 4th soul he wanted to capture wasn't what it was now. He wanted the 4th soul in a much more powerful state. The only way for it to achieve a more powerful state was for it to devour a large amount of soul fragments and primary souls. It has to be said that in terms of scheming, Du Tian couldn't match Zhu Kezi. Du Tian stared at Zhu Kezi as he pointed to the air and the soul fragments collapsed. The way they collapsed was very strange. Every time there was a purple flash of light, a soul fragment would collapse. This happened very quickly and soon a portion of the soul fragments had collapsed. The purple light became faster and faster until one could only see a purple line. Countless soul fragments were absorbed by the 4th soul. Du Tian wasn't in a position to worry about the soul fragments. Zhu Kezi's eyes lit up. He was about to move up when he suddenly stepped back. A needle-sized hole suddenly appeared in his hand and fresh blood dripped out from the wound. At this moment more souls collapsed. Because 10 primary souls were devoured by the 4th soul, its speed had reached an unimaginable speed. Du Tian's heart ached because of the 1 billion soul flag was devoured by the 4th soul in an instant along with 10 primary souls. The 1 billion soul flag hadn't suffered this kind of loss in a long time. Du Tian took a deep breath and shouted, 4th soul stop. The golden purple light paused as it hummed and then charged toward Zhu Kezi. Zhu Kezi sighed. He wanted to wait until the 4th soul had devoured all of the souls before using the method the previous Suzakas had thought of to capture it. Unfortunately, Du Tian had stopped it from devouring. Zhu Kezi couldn't say any more or his purpose would be exposed. Zhu Kezi continued to back up while he kept pointing at the air before him. A series of shattering sounds could be heard, causing Zhu Kezi to back up even faster. Many wounds the size of a needle appeared on him and blood flowed out of them. Every time a hole appeared, his expression became more ugly and his aura weakened. However, his blood began to cover the 4th soul. Zhu Kezi's eyes became cold as he slapped his bag of holding and took out a small red gourd. His hand formed a seal and he said, "Refine." With one word, a thread of white flame came out from the small gourd. The surrounding 1,000 feet immediately became a sea of fire. This fire was even stronger than the holy Suzaku flame. Let's see if your three-metal soul is stronger than the celestial flame gourd. I'm going to refine this fourth soul. Inside the sea of flames, the golden purple needle appeared and turned red. Although it didn't melt, Zhu Keizi's blood slowly fused with the fourth soul during this refining. At this moment, the fourth soul quickly began to spin, causing a gust of wind that blew an opening in the sea of fire. "Soul escape!" Du Tian shouted. The golden purple needle disappeared and flew toward Zhu Keizi. Zhu Keizi's eyes lit up. A look of joy appeared in his face and he laughed. "Du Tian, since you don't want to hand over the soul flag, I won't insist on taking it, but I'll be taking this fourth soul." Zhu Keizi slapped his bag of holding and took out a small chunk of black mud. He spat some blood on the black mud and then a strand of black gas came out from it. Zhu Keizi's hand guided the strand of black gas a few times to form a strange symbol. This old man uses his status as the current Suzaku and gives 90% of my remaining lifespan to open the cultivation planet crystal. I want to use the stop domain that the cultivation union gifted to us. His right hand pointed at the symbol and then it quickly flew out and disappeared 3 feet before Zhu Keizi. At this moment, everything within 1,000 feet paused. The moment the symbol disappeared, there was a flash of golden purple light, and then the golden purple needle appeared. Zhu Keizi reached out and caught the fourth soul. At this moment, time began to move again. Zhu Keizi stepped forward. His face revealed a fierce expression and he reached toward Du Tian. Du Tian let out a sigh. He turned around to look at the cave that had been destroyed by the flame and closed his eyes. But just as Zhu Keizi reached out, a dark laugh came from where the cave that Wang Lin was in was. "Scram for this old man." Zhu Keizi's expression changed. He felt pain from his origin soul and felt fear that he had never felt after he became the Suzaku. Waves of forsaken immortal clan members were gathering inside the endless black cloud on the eastern side of the continent of Suzaku. In the center of the black cloud sat countless forsaken immortal clan members. They were all chanting in unison. The power of their tattoos had moved out from their bodies and floated in the air. The tattoo power quickly rose up to the air. Every 2 hours these clan members would use up all of the tattoo power in their bodies, and then another group would switch places with them to continue the chant. This process had lasted for several months. On this day, a middle-aged man wearing a gray robe appeared. He had no tattoos on his body other than a purple leaf on his left cheek that was emitting a purple glow. He stood there as he stared at the large amount of clan members in the center and revealed a thoughtful look. Behind him followed 3 old men. The aura the 3 of them gave off was exactly the same as the 8-leaf old man who chased Wang Lin before. One of the old men respectfully said, "Fifth ancestor, it is time." The 4th ancestor has already activated it on the ancestral tree side. The middle-aged man nodded and said, "The ancestral tree was freed because the ancient ancestor gave up his life and used his body to break the 5-sword seal. We can't fail this time." The 4 subtrees of the ancestral tree have surrounded the continent of Suzaku. This time the country of Suzaku will be destroyed. The old man's eyes revealed a hint of excitement, but that quickly disappeared as he said, "Fifth ancestor about 2nd ancestor." The middle-aged man frowned and said, "Don't bother with him. He has been in the country of Suzaku for too long and thinks differently than us. If it wasn't for his unwillingness to fight, we could have wiped out the country of Suzaku in that battle a few years ago. I just don't believe that the cultivation planet crystal that the country of Suzaku holds has the power he spoke of." The old man nodded and no longer spoke. "The people of the corpse sect are here." The middle-aged man looked into the distance. A large coffin was quickly closing in from outside the eastern edge of the continent of Suzaku. On top of the coffin sat 3 people. The 3 of them all had white hair. Aside from the one in the middle, who was at the early stage of soul transformation, the other 2 were at the late stage of soul formation. The 3 of them were sitting on the coffin, which moved very fast. In the blink of an eye, they arrived before the black cloud. The tattoo symbols in the black cloud flashed to prevent them from entering. The early stage soul transformation old man from the corpse sect said, I'm the elder of the corpse sect on planet Suzaku, and the two behind me are corpse deacons. I asked the Forsaken Immortal sect to open the tattoo formation. The tattoos inside the black cloud flashed again and a tunnel appeared. The large coffin from the corpse sect quickly flew inside. The coffin stopped at the center of the black cloud. The early-stage soul transformation elder from the corpse sect jumped down. Before him was the middle-aged man and the 3 8-leaf shamans. The middle-aged man calmly said, "Elder Sima, I have been waiting for you." The corpse sect elder laughed and said, "I'm late because I encountered some trouble on the way. Aside from delivering the corpses, I'm also here to tell your Forsaken Immortal clan a piece of news." The middle-aged man looked at the corpse sect elder with calm eyes as he waited for the news. The corpse sect elder's eyes lit up, and with a smile that was not a smile he said, "Zhu Kz went to the soul refining sect and is having a battle with Du Tian to steal the 1 billion soul flag." The middle-aged man's expression remained the same. Then he smiled. "What was the result?" The corpse sect elder laughed. "That I don't know, but with my corpse sect's understanding of the current Suzaku, if he went, then he must be at least 80% confident. Your Forsaken Immortal clan will have to be careful." The middle-aged man's expression hadn't changed yet. He was just about to speak when his expression suddenly changed. He looked toward Pilu at the northern end of the continent of Suzaku. From there he felt an aura that made him tremble. Zhu Kz had long forgotten what pain from his origin soul felt like. Right now he felt the fear he had only felt back when he met the last generation Suzaku. Zhu Kz was, after all, someone from a high position, so he quickly calmed himself and asked, "Your Excellency, who are you?" A ray of rainbow-colored light flashed by as Wang Lin appeared. He floated in the air with his hair flowing without any wind, but he gave off an extremely strange aura. His body was emitting a blue aura, a cold aura that could freeze anything in the world. The current Wang Lin was completely naked, translucent and glistening. His eyes were no longer clear but filled with an evil aura. Qian Feng's eyes were also filled with evil, but compared to Wang Lin's, it was like a campfire next to the sun. This evil aura inside Wang Lin's eyes only represented one word: arrogance. Arrogance, much arrogance, an extreme arrogance that saw everything in the world as below him, and no one in the world could match him. He casually looked at Zhu Kz. This gaze was several times brighter than lightning. Zhu Kz's body trembled. At this moment he really felt like he did back in the past. He felt the same fear from when he faced the previous Suzaku. He quickly backed up, and for the first time in a long time cold sweat came out from his forehead. You are Wang Lin." "No, you aren't Wang Lin." "Your Excellency, who are you?" Zhu Kz took a deep breath and hid the terror in his eyes. "This old man asked you which generation Suzaku you are." These words filled with arrogance came out of Wang Lin's mouth. His tone contained a "you have to answer" feel. Du Tian stared at the scene. When he looked at Wang Lin, he felt a strong sense of unfamiliarity. His time with Wang Lin wasn't short, so he was immediately able to tell that this person wasn't him. There wasn't any way for Wang Lin to have this kind of pressure, and this kind of "I'm above everyone else" arrogance. This type of pressure and arrogance could only be found on old monsters that have cultivated for countless years. Zhu Kz didn't want to reply, but he involuntarily said, 14th generation Suzaku. Wang Lin pondered a bit before coldly looking at Zhu Kz and saying, "On the behalf of Yi Wuyo, this old man won't kill you. Now scram." Yi Wuyo. Du Tian was startled. He had never heard this name before. However, after Zhu Kz heard this name, his expression changed like it never had before. He immediately backed up even more, and the terror inside him could no longer remain hidden, so it showed on his face. "You?" Zhu Kz took in a breath of cold air and his body shook as if he had been hit by lightning. His gaze toward Wang Lin was no longer just filled with shock. It also contained a deep sense of horror. Yi Wuyo was a name that only every generation of Suzaku would know. No one else knew, not even the ancestors from the sects in Suzaku. They only knew that there was someone with the Taoist name of Suzaku. Yi Wuyo was the real name of the first generation Suzaku. As Zhu Kz looked at the blue aura around Wang Lin's body, he recalled the history of the past Suzakus until he locked onto one identity. At this moment, the terror in his eyes became even more intense. He respectfully clasped his hands toward Wang Lin without any hesitation and said, "Greetings, ancestor. Junior will leave now." With that, he quickly retreated. Du Tian's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Leave behind the fourth soul." Zhu Kezi stopped. His eyes showed that he was struggling to make a decision. And then he suddenly turned around and looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a trace of the past as he said, "Back then this old man owed you Wuyo. Forget it. Since you are using it to fight the Forsaken Immortal clan, this old man will lend it to you for 3 years. 3 years from now you will return it to me." Du Tian panicked and was about to speak when Wang Lin looked at him. When Du Tian looked back, he could no longer see Wang Lin. There was only an unfamiliar aura that said something like, "I'll kill you if you speak." And he knew that this person would kill him without any hesitation. Du Tian's heart trembled and he no longer dared to speak. Zhu Kezi let out a breath of relief. If that person wanted the fourth soul back no matter what, he might have had to fight him. However, from what he had heard about this person, Zhu Kezi lacked even the smallest amount of confidence in fighting him. Zhu Kezi clasped his hands and was about to leave. But Wang Lin's eyes showed a flash of arrogance and he said, "Since you have guessed this old man's identity, then you must know my rules. Are you just going to leave like this?" Zhu Kezi pondered a bit and raised his right hand. He waved his left hand and cut 2 fingers off his right hand. "This matter is Junior's fault. Are 2 fingers enough?" Wang Lin shook his head and arrogantly said, "Leave another one behind." Zhu Kezi clenched his teeth. He waved his left hand to cut off another finger. His face was pale as he looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin then said, "Scram!" Zhu Kezi quickly left without turning his head. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a ray of light and disappeared. 100,000 kilometers away, Zhu Kezi clenched his teeth and let out a roar at the sky. Second generation Suzaku. How can he be still alive? How can he still be on planet Suzaku? How can it be? The third generation Suzaku schemed against him by luring foreign cultivators over. How is he not dead? He roared the entire way back until he was above the country of Suzaku. He suddenly stopped as he looked back toward Pilu. The anger was now gone, but it was replaced with suspicion. Something is wrong. Going by what I know about the second generation Suzaku, there is no way he would go easy on me. Could it be that he has just awakened and was faking it? Zhu Kezi pondered a bit. His expression became very unsettled before he let out a sigh. He really didn't have the guts to go test his theory. He stomped his foot on the ground and a large crack appeared in the sky as he stared viciously at the direction of Pilu. Second generation Suzaku. Zhu Kezi flew toward Mount Suzaku. Inside the soul refining sect in Pilu, Wang Lin's figure wavered and then fell from the sky after he made sure that Zhu Kezi had left. Du Tian was shocked and quickly went up to Wang Lin. The current Wang Lin's face was pale and his eyes were closed. He was clearly in pain. Du Tian took a few closer looks. Then his expression changed greatly and he shouted, "Possession!" He instantly clenched his teeth and raised his hand. He was about to press his hand down on Wang Lin's forehead to help him fight the possession. However, just as he was about to press down, Wang Lin opened his eyes. His eyes were now clear and contained none of the arrogance from before. Wang Lin weakly said, "Senior, stop." Du Tian stared at Wang Lin and said in a serious tone, "What exactly happened? You were way too rash, you little brat. Couldn't you see the severity of the situation? If this old man had his old temper, I would kill you with a slap. Don't think that because your lifespan is about to be up, this old man can't make you taste what it's like for your life to be slowly drained away." A very arrogant voice came from Wang Lin's brow. Shortly after, a green light flew out from Wang Lin's forehead and stood on the side. This green light took the form of a large middle-aged man with a rough face and a large build. The moment he appeared, he released a powerful aura. The sky's color suddenly changed. Due to the impact of this person's aura, clouds began to form. Lightning could be seen and rain began to fall. The middle-aged man raised his head toward the sky and shouted, "Scatter for this old man! Did I let you rain?" With just one roar, the clouds in the sky scattered without a trace. Even the rain that was falling was blown away. Not even a single drop had landed. Du Tian's body trembled violently as he stared dumbfoundedly at the scene before him. He was unable to say a word. Wang Lin bitterly smiled and let out a cough. When the holy Suzaku flame arrived, Wang Lin's origin soul had already returned to his body, and he had reached the soul transformation stage. However, there was no way for him to help in the fight between Du Tian and Zhu Kezi, so when the holy Suzaku flame appeared, he hid inside the heaven-defying bead. When he went in there, Situ Nan awakened. The just awakened Situ Nan had a fierce image, but in reality he was very weak. They didn't even have time to talk before Situ Nan noticed what was going on outside, entered Wang Lin's body and scared Zhu Kezi away. It has to be said that Situ Nan's acting skill was very powerful. When Situ Nan made Zhu Kezi cut off his fingers, Wang Lin was extremely nervous, but Situ Nan wasn't nervous at all and was as arrogant as he always was. Afterwards, Wang Lin asked why he had asked Zhu Kezi to leave behind the fingers. Could he not have been afraid of Zhu Kezi retaliating? Situ Nan's response was, "Because I'm Situ Nan. Earlier you almost ruined my plan by asking for that fourth soul, you little brat. If I had let that little thieving sparrow see through me, this old man would have had to go back to sleep right after waking up. As for that fourth soul, once I find a body and recover my cultivation, I'll just kill my way up Mount Suzaku and steal it back for you." Situ Nan glared at Du Tian. Du Tian hadn't been called a little brat for thousands of years. He could only warily smile and ask, "Senior is?" Situ Nan raised his head and arrogantly said, "Wang Lin, tell this little brat who I am." Wang Lin wryly smiled. He looked at Du Tian and said, "He is Situ Nan." Situ Nan. Du Tian thought for a very long time and couldn't think of any expert named Situ Nan. Then Wang Lin said, "The second generation Suzaku." Du Tian's body trembled and he staggered backwards. His eyes were filled with extreme shock. He finally understood why Zhu Kezi was scared away. The fame of the second generation Suzaku was too large. In some ways it even exceeded the first generation Suzaku's fame. Shortly after, Du Tian took a deep breath. He respectfully bowed towards Situ Nan and said, "Junior Du Tian from the Soul Refining Sect greets Senior." Situ Nan nodded and said, "Considering the fact that you protected Wang Lin and are giving him the 1 billion soul flag, this old man promises you that if there is an opportunity, I'll help you revive the Soul Refining Sect." Situ Nan reminisced about the past. If it wasn't for his good friend from the Soul Refining Sect, he wouldn't even have had the time to escape into the heaven-defying bead during the battle with the foreign cultivators. Du Tian revealed a smile on his face. He had given up his entire life for the Soul Refining Sect, and it was the thing he worried about the most in his life. This was why he was willing to use the end of his life to befriend Wang Lin. It was all in order to find a way to keep his Soul Refining Sect alive. Zhu Kezi's arrival made Du Tian despair. However, things changed so fast that he felt like he had experienced an entire lifetime already. Now that the second generation Suzaku had personally promised to keep the Soul Refining Sect alive, Du Tian was satisfied. He sat down in the lotus position with a smile on his face and slowly closed his eyes. "Senior apprentice brother, your prediction worked. I Du Tian can meet you teacher and all of the previous ancestors with a smile. I Du Tian am not a sinner of the Soul Refining Sect. I found a new hope for the Soul Refining Sect. I can see that in the future, my Soul Refining Sect will become an existence beyond a rank 6 cultivation country. I Du Tian have left my mark on the history of the Soul Refining Sect. Teacher, I managed to accomplish what I promised you. I Du Tian am willing to wipe away my consciousness to enter the Soul Flag for eternity." On a rainy night on a public road, the bandits killed everyone, and among the rubble was a youth crying. With a long sigh, an old man walked out from the rain. After gently rubbing the youth's head, he revealed a gentle smile and said only one sentence. "Are you willing to come with me?" The youth grew up inside the Soul Refining Sect. The talented youth immediately stood out among the other disciples. He did all of this just because of that one sentence. In order to follow the old man's footsteps, he cultivated hard every day. Day by day, year by year, he continued this boring cultivation until he comprehended the heavens and reached the soul formation stage. He became the old man's disciple, was given the Taoist name Du Tian, and followed the old man everywhere. Time was like a song. There will be a day when the song ends and people leave. Before his teacher's soul entered the 1 billion soul flag, he made a promise to protect the Soul Refining Sect for the rest of his life only for that one sentence in his youth. Are you willing to come with me? Teacher, disciple is coming. Du Tian let out a smile as he closed his eyes. The last bit of his life force disappeared. A ray of golden purple light flew out from his brow. The 1 billion soul flag suddenly appeared. And with a wave, the golden purple light disappeared inside it. Although the 1 billion soul flag had lost of its soul fragments 10 primary souls, and the fourth soul, it was still the 1 billion soul flag. This 30-foot flag represented the roots of the soul refining sect. It seemed to have a mind of its own as it floated toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin raised his right hand and grabbed the soul flag. Then he looked at the smiling Du Tian with a complex expression and melancholy. He kneeled down and kowtowed toward Du Tian. Although senior wasn't my teacher, you treated me as your disciple. I will never forget about this. The melancholy in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. In truth, his time spent with Du Tian wasn't very long. But Du Tian's kindness to him was engraved in his heart. Zhu, one day I'll definitely find you and make you pay for wiping out the soul refining sect. Wang Lin looked at the direction of the country of Suzaku and his eyes became cold. With a gust of wind, Du Tian's corpse began to slowly disintegrate as if everything about this person was disappearing. Only in Wang Lin's memory did Du Tian's figure still remain. For you to meet this person was your luck. He is worthy of being remembered. Situnan let out a sigh. His voice was no longer filled with arrogance as he thought about his good friends in the past. Wang Lin pondered a bit and looked toward Situnan. What's your plan? Situnan's eyes lit up and the arrogance reappeared. He said, find a body with talent suitable for me, recover my cultivation, and look for those people who caused me to end up in this situation. If they have long died, then I'll take out my anger on— Oh! Wang Lin looked toward Situnan. Situnan's eyes were filled with joy. With a smile he said, good, this old man has picked his body. Wang Lin, follow me to the North Pole. That is where the body I want is located. With that he began flying. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding. The mosquito let out a roar and appeared before Wang Lin. He jumped onto the mosquito's back, sat down and followed Situnan. Situnan turned around to look at the mosquito. His eyes lit up as he said, what kind of beast is that? Where did you find it? This old man is going to go catch one to play around with. The mosquito has always been tyrannical, but after feeling the aura form Situnan, it let out a few hums and backed away from him. Situnan stared at the mosquito beast for a while. In a flash, he appeared beside Wang Lin on the back of the mosquito and said, what are you running for? I'm not going to eat you. The mosquito's body trembled as it looked pleadingly at Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a faint smile as he rubbed the mosquito's large head. He took out a piece of jade and after imprinting some information on it, he handed it to Situnan. If you go there, you can catch as many mosquito beasts as you want. Situnan took the jade. After he scanned it, his expression immediately changed. He awkwardly said, never mind. I don't want one anymore. The jade Wang Lin gave him contained information on the planet where the ancient god found a large amount of mosquito beasts. Even with Situnan's pride, his heart trembled when he saw the information in the jade. He then looked at the mosquito beast with a strange expression. Situnan let out a mischievous smile and said, Wang Lin, how about we make a deal? Once I have a body, lend me the mosquito to study for a while. I'll only study it and not harm its life. Not possible. Wang Lin refused without any hesitation. Situnan panicked and said, I really won't kill it. It might become even stronger. Not possible. Wang Lin shook his head. Situnan's eyes widened as he stared at Wang Lin and shouted, Little brat, no one dares to refuse this old man. Back then this old man wanted the first generation's concubine, and then I just stole her from him. As long as I want it, no one can refuse me. Are you going to give it to me? If not, I'll kill you with one slap, you unfilial kid. Wang Lin stared at Situnan. He didn't say a word but silently watched him. Shortly after, Situnan warily smiled and said, How did I end up with someone like you? When you were still a kid it was me who adjusted your body so you could cultivate. And it was also me who gave you the idea to steal someone's foundation. And I also saved you many times. Did you forget about the time when the Tung family little brat chased you? Also, outside the Juming Valley I risked my life to save you, and this is how you treat me? I'm a pitiful old man. I don't have many desires, I just wanted to borrow the mosquito to study. Wang Lin felt his head start to ache. If Situnan had continued to play it tough, he would be able to ignore it, but now every word Situnan was saying was landing on his heart. After a while, Wang Lin let out a helpless smile and said, "Fine, I'll lend it to you, I'll lend it to you." Situnan's expression suddenly changed to an arrogant one and he laughed. Good, this is more like the person this old man picked. With that, he looked toward the mosquito and revealed a creepy smile. The mosquito's body trembled and it screamed. That smile almost caused it to fall from the sky. As they flew, Wang Lin pondered a bit and asked, "Situ, do you know the Ji realm?" Situnan's expression became serious as he said, "The Ji Dao is the Ji of the three realms. Why are you asking this?" Wang Lin looked at Situnan. In this world, aside from Li Muan, the only other person he could completely trust was Situnan. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and a blob of white light appeared. This white light gave off a pressure like divine retribution. Although this pressure wasn't dangerous to Wang Lin, it could kill any nascent soul cultivator that touches it. Situnan exclaimed in surprise. He picked up the white light, took a closer look, and his expression immediately changed greatly. His divine sense immediately spread out to check their surroundings before he threw the white light toward Wang Lin's bag. He sent the white light through Wang Lin's divine sense and directly into the bag. Situnan exclaimed, "Why do you have the Ji realm?" Wang Lin slowly said, "Back in the Juming Valley, a sliver of this Ji realm appeared in my body. You were still sleeping then, so you didn't see it. Then my body was destroyed and you saved my soul before going back to sleep again. In the foreign battleground, my Ji realm reached its completion. The Ji realm is a very tyrannical substance. I don't have much information on it, but I know that the Cultivation Alliance is always looking for Ji realm cultivators. Whenever they find someone that has it, they kill them. You have to remember to never show it to anyone, especially the current Suzaku." Situnan's expression was very serious. Wang Lin nodded. He pondered a bit and then said, "I suspect this Ji realm has something to do with your underworld ascension cultivation method." Situnan was startled. He rubbed his chin and said, "You might have a point, but there are some unknown variables at play here because then I would also have the Ji realm. As far as I know, the chances of the Ji realm appearing are simply too low. Also, it is too difficult to cultivate. The fact that you were able to remove it from your body without being affected is already very rare." Situnan looked at Wang Lin with appreciation in his eyes. "Situ, I heard from someone that the cultivation planet crystal can help the Ji realm break through its limitations. Is that true? What exactly is the cultivation planet crystal?" Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he finally asked the question he had been holding back for hundreds of years. "You even know about the cultivation planet crystal?" Situnan revealed a complex expression before letting out a sigh and saying, "The cultivation planet crystal. That object is not a good thing, but if you want to leave this planet, you really do have to obtain it or else it could cause problems in the future. The cultivation planet crystal is the most vicious thing the Cultivation Alliance uses to control a cultivation planet." Situnan was about to continue speaking when he suddenly looked into the distance and said, "We'll talk about this later. Right now there are forsaken immortal clan members before us that are giving offerings to their ancestral spirit. Let me think. I remember the first generation Suzaku studying a spell that could use the ancestral spirit to absorb some of the mysterious power. I'm getting old and my memory is getting worse. I think this is correct. Wang Lin, give me a celestial jade." As Wang Lin looked into the distance, he slapped the other bag of holding, took out a celestial jade, and handed it to Situnan. Situnan took the celestial jade and in one breath of time sucked it dry to the point that it shattered. His eyes were filled with celestial spiritual energy as he said, "I remember the first generation Suzaku saying that this spell had a fatal weakness. Although that weakness is kind of annoying for me right now, I should be able to avoid it. Wang Lin, wait for me here. I'll be right back." With that, he disappeared. When Situnan appeared and scared Zhukezhi away, all of the ascendant cultivators felt that powerful aura. A white-robed old man appeared in the sky east of the country of Suzaku. He was the only ascendant cultivator of the Heavenly Jade sect, Chu Yunfei. At this moment, his expression was unsettled. After a while, he let out a sigh and said, "A very powerful aura." He slightly shook his head. As he looked to the east, his eyes became cold. Behind him was several dozen cultivators. Most of them were at the soul formation stage and only 3 of them were at the soul transformation stage. Behind these people were more than 100 nascent soul cultivators. In the sky south of the continent of Suzaku was a cultivation army of more than 100 cultivators that was flying south. The person at the front was a middle-aged man. He was the Shattering Earth Sex Ascendant cultivator. He bitterly smiled and said, "Unlucky for me to get mixed into such a messy war period." After Zhukezhi returned to Mount Suzaku, he rested for a bit before quickly leaving again. This time his target was in the western side of the Suzaku continent. In the black clouds on the eastern edge of the Suzaku continent, the 5th ancestor gloomily withdrew his gaze. The corpse sect Elder Sima with his soul transformation cultivation couldn't detect the change that occurred when Situnan appeared. But when he saw this 5th ancestor's expression become ugly, he couldn't help but be surprised. He was just about to probe for information when the 5th ancestor waved his sleeves and said, "Elder Sima, let's start." Sima's eyes lit up and he laughed. "Good, the reason I came here was to deliver this corpse. It could make your forsaken immortal clan ancestor spirit tree flourish even more." With that, he turned around to look at the 2 corpse deacons behind him. Without a word, the 2 deacons got off the coffin and began to form seals. Strands of spiritual energy flew from them and landed on the coffin. Shortly after, the 2 of them released a mysterious and ghostly light from their bodies and shouted, "Open!" The sound of 2 pieces of wood scraping each other filled the air as the wooden lid of the coffin slowly moved to create an opening. The opening got bigger and bigger. Black gas came from inside along with the stench of rotting flesh. The 5th ancestor's gaze was calm as he looked at the coffin. However, the 3 8-leaf shamans behind him were very nervous and secretly on guard. "Rise!" The 2 corpse deacons shouted together once more. The lid was suddenly pushed aside by an invisible hand and it smashed into the ground. At this moment, the black gas became even more dense as more of it escaped from the coffin and seemed to want to surround the entire coffin. The Forsaken Immortal Clan 5th ancestor coldly said, "This is the corpse you guys were talking about?" Elder Sima let out a mischievous smile and said, "5th ancestor, don't blame me. The orders came from above and the corpse was delivered from above too. I don't have the right to make any decisions. However, on planet Suzaku, there aren't many soul transformation giant demon clan corpses. This one was transferred from another planet. The other 4 corpses should have been delivered to their locations already." The 5th ancestor remained quiet but slightly frowned. At this moment, the 2 corpse deacons' hands formed seals even faster and faster. Then they coughed out blood, but the blood didn't land on the coffin. It formed 2 blood people. The 2 blood people charged directly into the coffin. A large corpse floated out from the coffin accompanied by a lot of scraping sounds. This corpse was more than 100 feet tall and was rotting. There were parts where you could see the white bones. Some giant maggots were still moving inside the body, making it look very disgusting. However, the head of the corpse kept in really good condition, especially between the eyebrows where the purple axe was very noticeable. Just at this moment, a calm voice came from the distance. "Forsaken Immortal Clan 5th ancestor. This old man Chu Yunfei is here to do battle with you." The moment this voice reached them, an earth-shattering bang came from outside the black cloud. Soon after, a powerful pressure appeared outside of the black cloud and shattered it. 10,000 feet away stood the Heavenly Jade Sex Ascendant Cultivator, whose eyes were like lightning. Behind him was a large amount of cultivators with cold gazes and eyes filled with killing intent. The 5th ancestor's eyes became cold as he waved his right hand and said, "Kill!" With that one word, all of the Forsaken Immortal Clan members charged out and a battle began. Chu Yunfei arrived beside the coffin, hit it with his palm and said, "Corpse sect, you guys are courting death." The Forsaken Immortal Clan 5th ancestor reached out and pulled the giant corpse toward where the clan members were giving their offerings before Chu Yunfei's hand could land on it. With a bang, the large corpse landed on the ground, creating a shockwave that kicked up the dust on the ground. The coffin was turned to dust by Chu Yunfei's palm. The 5th ancestor quickly said, "Activate the reincarnation tree." Then he quickly charged toward Chu Yunfei and waved his hand. Black clouds quickly came and surrounded him and Chu Yunfei. There were flashes of light coming out from the inside the black cloud, as well as shockwaves due to celestial spiritual energy being used. Anyone who got caught in the shockwaves was immediately turned to dust. After the fifth ancestor charged out, one of the elders quickly jumped over the clan members and landed on the large corpse. He didn't seem to mind the maggots on the body as his right hand reached out and a ball of golden light the size of his fist appeared in his hand. At this moment, one of the mid-stage soul transformation cultivator's eyes lit up, and he got around the person he was fighting before charging toward the person with the golden light. He shouted, "Drop that golden light!" Then he waved his hand and a flying sword flew out. The eight-leaf shaman suddenly raised his head to look at the middle-aged man that was charging at him. Without any hesitation, he pressed the golden light to the giant corpse's chest. The golden light flashed as the flying sword went through the chest of the eight-leaf shaman. The eight-leaf shaman's face was deathly pale, but he continued to press the golden light into the chest of the corpse. Then he let out a laugh and wiped the wound on his chest. He licked the blood from his fingers and quickly charged out to battle the middle-aged man. The golden glow on the corpse of the giant demon clan corpse became bright and brighter. Chu Yunzi, who was fighting the fifth ancestor, frowned as he backed up and shouted, "Destroy that giant demon clan corpse." The surrounding cultivators all charged toward the corpse. However, the Forsaken Immortal clan members threw themselves in the way as they didn't care about their lives. Some were even willing to blow themselves up to stop the cultivators from getting in. The golden glow became brighter and brighter. At this moment, the corpse of the giant demon clan corpse began to shrink. The golden light was like a plant on the earth, growing as it sucked nutrients from the ground. This process lasted for 10 breaths of time before the giant demon clan corpse was drained of all energy and then turned to dust. Chu Yunfei charged out from the black cloud toward the golden glow. The fifth ancestor sneered inside the black cloud and didn't attempt to stop him. When Chu Yunfei arrived, the golden glow suddenly shattered and a 1,000-foot-tall reincarnation tree appeared. A powerful shockwave spread from it and completely covered the entire eastern part of planet Suzaku. Zhu Yunfei's expression changed greatly as he quickly backed up. However, he was hit by the shockwave, so blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. Fifth ancestor sneered as he charged toward Chu Yunfei. Chu Yunfei's eyes lit up as he decided to not fight again. He charged out of this place while shouting, "Retreat!" The cultivators that were fighting with the Forsaken Immortal clan all sighed and quickly retreated. The Forsaken Immortal clan members were about to chase when the fifth ancestor said, "Don't chase. Protect the reincarnation ancestral spirit tree." Elder Sima, who hadn't acted at all, looked at the reincarnation tree with a mysterious light in his eyes. He said, "According to the deal between the two of us, where is the item?" The fifth ancestor pondered a bit before pointing at his brow. Then a tattoo the size of his palm flew out from between his eyebrows. This tattoo was very complicated. Just looking at it would make your eyes spin. However, it contained a hint of a very primal and destructive power. This tattoo is one of the tattoos passed by down the ancestors. When I reached the 9-leaf stage, I completed it. With that, he waved his hand and the tattoo flew toward Elder Sima. Elder Sima's expression became serious as he slapped his bag of holding and took out a jade box. This box didn't give off spiritual energy, but celestial spiritual energy, and it was covered with powerful restrictions. He carefully placed the tattoo inside the jade box before letting out a sigh of relief and putting the box in his bag. He then laughed and said, "Fifth ancestor sure is decisive. I hope the other ancestors do the same. Since my Forsaken Immortal clan made a promise to your corpse sect, we won't back out on our side of the agreement." The fifth ancestor coldly looked at Elder Sima. As Sima laughed, his eyes lit up and he suddenly said, "I'll pass on a message from my corpse sect master. In my corpse sect, we still have a giant demon clan corpse who once cut down many of your 9-leaf shamans. His body has already reached the mid-stage of ascendant. If you are interested, you can contact us at any time." After saying that, he didn't even wait for a response before quickly leaving. The 2 corpse deacons quickly followed and the 3 of them disappeared from the black cloud. The same scene happened in the north, south, and west edges of the Suzaku continent as well. Unfortunately, aside from Zhu Kz, who successfully destroyed the reincarnation tree in the west, the south and east failed. However, a strange scene unfolded at the northern tree. Situnan's figure moved like a ghost and silently entered the black fog. No one noticed him arrive, not even the fourth ancestor who was in charge of this place. The moment the reincarnation ancestral spirit tree started growing, Situnan went inside it and became like a parasite. He absorbed all of the nutrients meant for the tree, causing the very rare reincarnation ancestral spirit tree sprout to collapse. This strange scene caused all of the Forsaken Immortal clan members to be stunned. The furious fourth ancestor had to sacrifice tattoos to finally find Situnan. Situnan laughed arrogantly at the fourth ancestor and disappeared, leaving behind only a voice in the wind. Damn, that was nasty. If I knew it was this nasty, I wouldn't have eaten it. The Forsaken Immortal clan fourth ancestor's hair turned white, and his eyes were so bloodshot that blood was about to drip out. He let out a roar as he charged out and chased after Situnan. Situnan hadn't just devoured a reincarnation tree, but an ancestral spirit. This was one of the 5 ancestral spirits that the Forsaken Immortal clan spent tens of thousands of years nurturing. Once an ancestral spirit has grown and then is combined with a special spell, it can call upon a spirit body from the void. The spirit body will then fuse with the ancestral spirit to create a 10-leaf shaman. However, an ancestral spirit was just devoured right under his nose. His head was filled with rage and his anger had already reached its limit. "I'm going to kill you," the fourth ancestor shouted as he chased after Situnan like crazy. Situnan was escaping very quickly as he laughed. The first generation Suzaka's method is a bit shameless, but this old man likes it. When this old man has a body, I can teach it to Wang Lin and the two of us can both devour the ancestral spirits. Although I'm afraid that with Wang Lin's current cultivation level, he can't withstand it. "I will kill you." A fierce roar from someone whose heart seemed to have been torn came from behind Situnan. The hatred coming from the roar behind Situnan couldn't be described in words. Wang Lin had already heard the roar from the distance. He immediately put away the mosquito beast and quickly flew off to the side instead of waiting for Situnan in one place. When Situnan's divine sense spread out, he found Wang Lin and teleported to him. He appeared beside Wang Lin and quickly said, "You're too slow, I'll carry you. There is a crazy dog chasing after us. Once this old man has a body and has digested the power from the ancestral spirit, I'll definitely boil that little crazy dog." With that, he grabbed Wang Lin and quickly flew off. Situnan's speed was very quick. In the blink of an eye, he and Wang Lin had left the Suzaku continent and were on their way to the North Pole. The Forsaken Immortal clan fourth ancestor seemed to have his heart set on chasing after Situnan. As Situnan flew, he showed no fear at all. He would often slow down to allow that fourth ancestor to catch up. This old man has devoured their ancestral spirit and then, after I fuse with that body, I'll devour this little crazy dog too. This should reduce the recovery time by a lot. I will benefit personally and wipe out a shaman that is similar in power to an ascendant cultivator, so it can be said that I didn't forget the first generation Suzaka's kindness. Situnan laughed. The little northern flameland is at the extreme north of the planet. It is where Xueyu used to be located. The ice here has never melted ever since cultivators came to this planet. The cold wind howls all day and the land is filled with ice. From a distance one can see a cloud of dark blue fog that would float around the area. Wherever this fog goes, everything with life will die. This cold fog is called the Nine-Leaf Fog. This mysterious natural power only appears in extremely cold places. Aside from destroying everything, the Nine-Leaf Fog has another effect, which is to suck in what it can't absorb and slowly refine it. The little northern flameland is very large. When Xueyu was here, they could only explore of the land before they weren't able to go in any further, so they ended up building their country on the border of this region. However, some of the powerful cultivators knew that at the center of the little northern flameland was a field of red ice. The ice there wasn't cold but flames. This is a very occurrence. Fire that exists in ice forms a power that can amaze people. Thus, the cultivators on planet Suzaku named this place the Little Northern Flameland. There are some ancient restrictions in this land that have existed for a long time. The Nine-Leaf Fog is one of those. There is also the blood flame restriction. It has no effect on things without blood, but if anything with blood gets hit by the light, their blood will start boiling and then they will die within 10 seconds. Aside from those, there is also the ice that can absorb divine sense. This ice makes divine sense constantly weaken when the two come into contact. At this moment, in the depths of the little northern flame land lied the body of a boy who was covered by the nine-leaf fog. The boy was very handsome, but he had a struggling expression. He would occasionally open his mouth to spit out a strand of black gas that would push the nine-leaf fog away. However, the moment the nine-leaf fog was pushed away, it would come back and slowly refine the boy. This boy was the demonic child that corpse sect head Elder Sun Tai had released against the giant demon clan ancestor. This demonic child was very strange. Back then, the giant demon clan ancestor's body was destroyed by it. Then the giant demon clan ancestor was forced to escape with his origin soul, and in the end used this place to trap the demonic child. If it wasn't for the fact that Sun Tai was sent away by the giant demon clan ancestor's bloodline power, then with Sun Tai controlling it, the demonic child wouldn't have been trapped. The origin of this demonic child was great. To talk about the origin of this demonic child, we first have to talk about the corpse sect. The corpse sect is a very large sect. It is not something any sect on planet Suzaku can compare to. In fact, there are branches of the corpse sect in many planets. The corpse sect is a very large organization with roots in many different cultivation planets. They are involved in the trade of bodies and collecting items of mysterious origins. Very few people know where the headquarters of the corpse sect is located, because this is a secret. The structure of the corpse sect is like a tower. There are many different levels. Inside the Cultivation Alliance, the corpse sect is one of the few recognized as an official sect. Compared to all the various sects on the many cultivation planets, the corpse sect is one of the few real sects of the current era. A lot of older generation cultivators know that you can't casually mess with the corpse sect. It is said that the person behind the corpse sect has some connection with the collapse of the celestial realm. However, this is only a rumor. No one knows if it's true or false. But no matter what, there is no need to question just how powerful the corpse sect is. In every corpse sect branch, there is a sect master and a head elder. The sect master is responsible for managing the affairs of the sect, while the head elder is responsible for monitoring everything. Inside the corpse sect there is a jade containing information on more than 3,000 different kinds of bodies. Once one of those bodies are found, they can be exchanged for some heavenly treasures. The demonic child was something Sun Tai obtained in a desolate planet. The body of this demonic child is ranked 171 in the corpse sect. It has a hidden spirit root that hasn't been determined yet. It's a body created by nature to be possessed. When someone possesses it, it will develop a spirit root to match that person. Sun Tai was very happy after finding this body. He refined it for more than 1,000 years to finally create this demonic child. It even had the ability to use spells, and just the body itself was already at the mid-stage of soul transformation. The only strange thing about it was that it had to be kept inside a special formation to be nurtured, and couldn't leave the formation for too long, which was why when Sun Tai went to the celestial realm, he didn't bring the demonic child with him. After he came back, he retrieved it and planned to go to a nearby planet with a large corpse sect branch. He planned to exchange the body for a rank 8 soul-splitting pill to remove Zhou Yi's seal. It was at that moment that Wang Lin called for him, which was why he had the demonic child to use against the giant demon clan ancestor. On this day, in the little northern flame land, 2 rays of light traveling faster than the speed of sound flew across the sky. 2 people in the front and 1 person in the back. One of the ones in the front was wearing a white robe, and under his flowing white hair was the face of a young man. Beside this young man was a middle-aged man. His build was large and he gave off a very arrogant aura. If one looked closely, they would see that his body wasn't solid but somewhat transparent. The last person was a white-haired old man with his teeth clenched closely as he chased after them. Wang Lin was among the 3 of them. Situnan looked back at the Forsaken Immortal Clan 4th ancestor and shouted, "You're too slow, you little brat. This old man had to wait for you so many times. If you don't fly faster, this old man isn't going to wait for you." The 4th ancestor was furious. He wanted to give up many times along the way, but every time he was about to, the middle-aged man would stop to taunt him. The 4th ancestor found this very strange, but he wasn't willing to give up. He had a secret technique that he could use to take back the ancestral spirit back. But the requirement was for the ancestral spirit to not have been refined yet. This was why he kept chasing. The three of them were very quick. They flew to the center of the little northern flameland and entered the area of the ice flames. Wang Lin was able to immediately see the demonic child inside the red flame. Situ Nan's eyes lit up. He stopped, let out a laugh, and looked back at the fourth ancestor who was quickly arriving. Before my body was destroyed, I cultivated in this place for a very long time, so I have a very deep understanding of the restrictions here. Situ revealed a reminiscent look as his hand formed a seal and pointed at the air. The ground immediately shook as a golden light began to gather, and then it flew out. Situ Nan laughed as he grabbed Wang Lin. Then he moved 1,000 feet away and looked at the fourth ancestor. The moment the fourth ancestor arrived, the entire sky was covered by a white light. This white light was very bright, and was carrying a mysterious power which landed on the fourth ancestor's body. Red light immediately appeared under the fourth ancestor's skin. The fourth ancestor sneered. The blood flame light. His forsaken immortal clan was native to this planet, so they had a very good understanding of this place. He was able to immediately recognize what the white light was. He waved his right hand and a giant tattoo appeared before him. The tattoo flashed and then all of the white lights were pushed away from the fourth ancestor's body. Situ Nan exclaimed in surprise and his eyes became cold. He then moved as fast as lightning toward the fourth ancestor. The fourth ancestor suddenly raised his head toward Situ Nan and waved his hand. The tattoo before him turned into threads which attempted to trap Situ Nan. Situ Nan laughed. He didn't dodge but went through these threads and directly entered the fourth ancestor's body. The fourth ancestor shouted, "Get out of there!" He slapped his forehead and a 9-leaf plant appeared on it. The moment this plant appeared, Situ Nan came out of the fourth ancestor, released all of his aura and shouted, "9-leaf fog!" The fog surrounding the demonic child quickly flew to Situ Nan, trapped the two of them, and dragged them toward the ice flame that the demonic child was trapped in. This happened very quickly. In almost an instant, Situ Nan and the fourth ancestor were surrounded by the fog. A pillar of ice flame formed around each of them. At this moment there were 3 pillars of ice flame inside the 9-leaf fog. Situ Nan revealed a look of joy inside the ice flame and then mysteriously came out of it. He flew into the ice flame where the demonic child was located and entered the body. Wang Lin, this 9-leaf fog is a natural formation, and it makes the perfect protection for me. It won't take long for me to recover my cultivation. I'll come find you when I'm done. You'll have to be careful of Zhu during this time. Don't die before I come out. Situ Nan's voice came out from the 9-leaf fog. Wang Lin pondered a bit. He looked at the child inside the fog and asked, "You don't need me to guard you?" "No need. This 9-leaf fog is the best protection." Situ Nan's voice contained a trace of excitement. After tens of thousands of years, he would finally have a body again. Even though he had been through a lot in his life, he couldn't help but be excited. "Foreign cultivators, just you all wait. Once this old man recovers his cultivation, I'll definitely find you guys for my revenge." Wang Lin raised his head to look into the distance and calmly said, "You still haven't told me what the cultivation planet crystal is." Cultivation planet crystal. Before I became the ruler of a cultivation planet, I also thought that it was some powerful treasure. However, after I became the 2nd generation Suzaku, I found that this item was simply too vicious. Wang Lin frowned as he waited for Situ Nan to continue. The cultivation planet crystal. It's dog farts. It is something the Cultivation Alliance created, and they give one to every single cultivation country that reaches rank 6. Planting it within the cultivation planet and activating it will cause the entire planet to be surrounded by mysterious power. From the day it opens, any living thing that is born on that planet will be missing a piece of its soul. This piece of soul is absorbed by the cultivation planet crystal, and absolute power over the crystal is given to the country by the Cultivation Alliance. Hehe. A rank 6 cultivation country is like a king because of the existence of the cultivation planet crystal. With this object, any generation of Suzaku can kill any living thing on the planet, unless that person or creature is one step past the ascendant stage and forcibly retrieves their piece of soul. Otherwise, there is no other way. However, my speculation is that the cultivation planet crystal isn't a secret in a lot of other planets and people have found ways to deal with it, or else there wouldn't be so many rank 6 countries that got toppled by the people of their own planet. But in general, this cultivation planet crystal gives ultimate control of the planet to the rank 6 cultivation countries. When I became the Suzaku and found out about this, I secretly sabotaged it and sealed the cultivation planet crystal. Although the crystal can still absorb the pieces of souls, it can't be used until the seal is broken. This is why the current planet Suzaku is such a mess. Otherwise, it would be as sturdy as an iron drum. Haha. All of the Suzakus after me must have hated me for this, but I just don't like that sheety crystal. Even with Wang Lin's mental strength after he heard this, his expression couldn't help but turn ugly and his heart trembled. Wang Lin asked in a serious tone, "So if ZhuKZ gets control of the cultivation planet crystal, he will only need but a thought to kill me?" Situ Nan said, "There is an item called the cultivation planet heart that is linked to the cultivation planet crystal. Only the current Suzaku has possession of it. He will have to give up some of his lifespan to activate it, and it will allow him to kill anyone. A piece of your soul is inside the crystal, so if you want to have a peaceful future when you leave the planet, you must extract your soul from the cultivation planet crystal." Then that means that what I heard about the cultivation planet crystal being able to help the G realm evolve is false. Wang Lin frowned. This matter is difficult to talk about since I don't have the G realm to study. Okay, let's talk about it all once I recover. Wang Lin, you don't have to worry too much. I'm still there. Situ Nan quieted down and began his possession. Wang Lin stood still. After a long time, his eyes turned cold. How could my life be in someone else's hands? No wonder so many cultivation countries betrayed Suzaku the moment the Forsaken Immortal clan appeared. No wonder ZhuKZ wanted to wipe out rank 5 cultivation countries that could become rank 6. So this is the reason behind it all. If ZhuKZ could still control the cultivation planet crystal, then the situation now would not be like this. With an attack from all cultivators on the planet, the Forsaken Immortal clan would be in danger of being wiped out. If ZhuKZ could control the cultivation planet crystal, then he could have easily taken the 1 billion soul flag from Senior Du Tian rather than wait until now. Cultivation planet crystal. Na Duo had no reason to lie to me, but his tone back then was also filled with uncertainty. Wang Lin's figure disappeared from the little northern flame land. The most important thing right now is to get the cultivation planet crystal and retrieve that piece of my soul. Then I'll leave the planet to find the All-Seer. With the current mess planet Suzaku is in, it is not fit for cultivating. However, I still need to make some preparations before that. The 1 billion soul flag has weakened, so I need to take another trip to the foreign battleground to capture wandering souls, and see if they can be used to help replenish the soul flag. If it is possible, I'll catch a few soul devourers to use as primary souls. When I do that, the 1 billion soul flag's power should recover. Also, there is that small bottle of blood from the giant demon clan ancestor. That bottle is very important to my original body, which is still on the moon. It can allow my original body to use the ancient gods' techniques. That person who was begging for help under the corpse sect in Zhao must be the giant demon clan's founding ancestor. I need to go there to see if I can get more blood. Unfortunately, the amount of spiritual energy the original body needs to reach the 4-star stage is unimaginable. I also need the aura of an adult ancient god, which will be very difficult to get. In the ancient god clan, going from 3 stars to 4 stars is a rite of passage. Once the original body makes a breakthrough, then according to the memories I inherited, it will match an ascendant cultivator. Tua Sun inside the land of the ancient god is also a big issue. If he leaves the land of the ancient god, the first thing he will do is find me. With my current cultivation, even with my original body, I'm no match for Tua Senator. Even if Situnan also acted, the result would be the same. After all, Tua Sen has inherited 2C's strength, and during his peak 2C was an 8-star ancient god that could destroy a planet with his palm. Wang Lin frowned. Tua San has always been a thorn in his heart. One of the reasons he wanted to quickly leave planet Suzaku was because of Tua San. I must return to Chu to send Zhou Ru home. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he turned and flew toward Chu. Along the way, the sky was almost completely covered by black clouds. The black clouds were filled with Forsaken Immortal clan members. They were using the black clouds to quickly fly toward the Suzaku continent. The more Wang Lin saw, the more sullen he became. Although he hated ZhuKZ, he was still a cultivator. Along the way, he killed countless Forsaken Immortal clan members. Unfortunately, there were simply too many, so he had to give up and keep himself hidden as he flew toward Chu. Almost all rank 3 cultivation countries had either been destroyed or fallen under the Forsaken Immortal clan's control. All of the Forsaken Immortal clan members were gathered on the Suzaku continent when the second battle with the country of Suzaku began. During the journey to the Suzaku continent, the Forsaken Immortal clan attacked everyone on the way. A large number of rank 4 cultivation countries had fallen in their wake. The entire planet was covered in blood. Less and less cultivators were appearing in the sky of planet Suzaku, and the black clouds seemed to be in the sky all the time. The attack the Forsaken Immortal clan has been preparing for tens of thousands of years finally exploded in full force on planet Suzaku. The country of Suzaku immediately began their fierce counterattack the moment the second battle began. Qianfeng was appointed the leader of this battle, so all cultivators had to listen to his orders. Large amounts of cultivators were sent to various places to fight the Forsaken Immortal clan. Every rank 5 cultivation country became a battleground. The entire planet was trembling and was about to collapse from this war. However, the country of Suzaku wasn't strong enough to resist, so it kept being pushed back. Almost every day a large amount of cultivators died in battle. At the same time, one shocking piece of news after another spread from cultivators who managed to escape. All of the sects from the rank 5 cultivation country of Watering had switched sides. The rank 5 cultivation country of Peony had switched sides. The rank 5 cultivation country of Qin had switched sides. The betrayal of 3 rank 5 cultivation countries was like 3 sucker punches to the already retreating country of Suzaku. Eventually, the country of Suzaku had to pull their line of defense back to the Suzaku continent. However, even more shocking news spread out. These news caused the hearts of every cultivator on planet Suzaku to tremble. This generation Suzaku's junior apprentice brother, the one who lost the fight for the title of Suzaku, ENGSUB, appeared. He suddenly appeared in the same battlefield as Zhu and pulled off a sneak attack on him, causing Zhu to be gravely injured. ENGSUB's identity was the Forsaken Immortal clan's second ancestor. Wang Lin heard this when he was returning to Chu. The shock in his heart was indescribable. He had a hunch that ENGSUB would come looking for him. However, one person found Wang Lin before ENGSUB. On this day, Wang Lin had just opened an ancient transfer array. The destination of this array was Chu. The moment he walked into the array, Wang Lin stopped and turned around to look into the distance where he saw a burly man wearing a straw hat closing in. "Brother Wang, it has been many years since we last met. Do you still remember me?" The burly man stopped 10 feet before Wang Lin and took off his straw hat. At the eastern side of the Suzaku continent, the Heavenly Jade Sect's ascendant ancestor's expression was very ugly. Earlier he was hit by the shockwave of the ancestral spirit, and was left with injuries which he was forced to suppress. Then the battle with the Forsaken Immortal clan began, so he had no time to rest before going back into battle. In the battle 3 days ago, the 5th ancestor appeared once more. During their battle his injuries broke out and he was forced to flee. He was heading back to the Heavenly Jade Sect because he decided that until his injuries were healed, he wouldn't be helping Zhu. "If it comes down to it, I'll just leave this planet. With my cultivation level, I'll be a powerhouse on any cultivation planet." Seeing that the Heavenly Jade Sect was in sight, Chu Yunfei suddenly stopped and looked into the distance. A person walked over from the horizon. This person was wearing a red robe, his face was old, he gave off an ancient aura, and a powerful pressure could be felt from him. He stopped 20 feet before Chu Yunfei and stared at him. "Brother Chu, we haven't met in many years. Is everyone still fine?" Chu Yunfei's eyes became serious as he looked at the person and said, "ENGSUB." The red-robed old man raised his head, let out a sigh and said, "So it seems Brother Chu still remembers me. Forget it. Brother Chu, I came this time to give you some advice. Leave planet Suzaku." The current ENGSUB had no trace of his previous messy self. "I'm renaming Tian Yunzi to All-Seer." He is the old man who agreed to accept Wang Lin as a disciple for 100 years if Wang Lin can reach his planet. Chu Yunfei's eyes became cold and he said, "What do you mean?" ENGSUB shook his head and said, "You should go. Your cultivation isn't a match for me and you are heavily injured. Brother Chu, don't come back for 1,000 years. Chu Yunfei's eyes became even colder as he said, "What if I don't agree?" Yangtze let out a sigh before he waved his hand and a piece of black wood appeared. The black wood exploded into a cloud of black mist, and then there was a flash of golden light followed by the appearance of a powerful pressure. An illusionary figure appeared within the golden light. It arrived before Chu Yunfei in an instant and gently patted him. Chu Yunfei's expression immediately changed and he quickly backed up. He waved his hand and his celestial spiritual energy quickly gathered before him. However, the palm went right through the celestial spiritual energy and pressed down upon Chu Yunfei's chest at an unimaginable speed. Chu Yunfei coughed out a mouthful of blood and quickly backed up before escaping toward the horizon. "Yangtze, I'll leave planet Suzaku." Chu Yunfei's voice came from the distance. It contained a hint of depression. "Why did you stop me from killing him?" The illusionary figure turned around and looked toward Yangtze. Yangtze calmly looked at the figure and said, "The moment you act, Zhukezhi will detect it. Let's go." He and the figure both disappeared. The moment they left, the clouds turned red and slowly revealed Zhukezhi's figure. "Yank! Get out!" Zhukezhi's face was filled with anger as he roared. His voice suddenly spread out in all directions. "Senior apprentice brother, the battle between the two of us is unavoidable. Because we were in the same sect for 1,000 years, I'll give you 3 months to recover. After that we will have our battle at the foot of Mount Suzaku." Yangtze's voice slowly came from the empty air. Zhukezhi took a deep breath. His expression was gloomy as he muttered, "I know your objective, Yunju. You are playing with fire." Then he disappeared. Yangtze and the figure slowly appeared somewhere in the sky above the Suzaku continent. The figure asked, "Why give him so much time? It shouldn't take that long to kill Zhukezhi." Yangtze looked at the figure and said, "In the Forsaken Immortal clan including me, there are 3 9-leaf shamans, 1 10-leaf shaman, and you an 11-leaf shaman. If all 5 of us attack together, it will not be hard to kill Zhukezhi. In addition, although only 2 of the ancestral spirit trees were successful, 2 more 10-leaf shamans will descend soon, so with the 7 of us, killing Zhukezhi will be even easier. However, Zhuke can't be killed right now." The figure pondered a bit and said, "You have been among the cultivators for too long and forgot your origin. Do you still remember how many clan members were sacrificed to send you into the country of Suzaku?" Yangtze's eyes lit up and he sneered. "First ancestor, I'll tell you one more time. Don't underestimate Zhukezhi. Zhukezhi has the cultivation planet crystal. Although it has been sealed by the 2nd generation Suzaku, every Suzaku in the past tens of thousands of years has been looking for a way to break the seal. The previous Suzaku even found a weak point. With my understanding of the current Suzaku, if we kill him, he will definitely destroy the cultivation planet crystal before his death to kill every cultivator on the planet. At that moment, when such a big calamity unfolds, the Cultivation Alliance will definitely send people to deal with this. Do you think our Forsaken Immortal clan can deal with the Cultivation Alliance?" The figure remained silent. "If things had gone according to my plan, we could have nurtured a cultivator to be the next Suzaku, and then continue this charade which would allow our Forsaken Immortal clan to continue to exist. This is the best method. However, the ancestor was too eager, so he broke you all out and destroyed all of my plans." Yangtze was very gloomy. "Even my identity was forced to be revealed by all of you to prove that I'm a member of the Forsaken Immortal clan. In my view, it was pointless." Yangtze slowly said, "First ancestor, if you want our clan to last, we must get our hands on the cultivation planet crystal and allow one of the people I picked to become the next Suzaku so we can indirectly control all of the cultivators on the planet. I had already picked 4 candidates and only needed a few decades for my plan to come into fruition. The scheme I had planned for countless years was destroyed by you guys. The 2 successors Zhukezhi has chosen are Qianfeng and Lu Mei. That Qianfeng has learned the Suzaku tactic, so I believe that he is a body that the current Suzaku has prepared for possession. Every generation of Suzaku has tried to find a way to use possession to extend their lifespan, and I believe that this Suzaku has found a way. This is why I found my second candidate, XIAN. If Zhukezhi succeeded in his possession, he would be under this girl's control. Even if I were wrong and Zhukezhi really has been grooming Qianfeng to be the next Suzaku, when he becomes the next Suzaku, he would still be controlled by XIAN. The third person I picked was Zhou Wutai. This child has the bloodline of the Green Dragon. Since the Green Dragon clan helped us in the war a long time ago, I picked him as one of the candidates. That is why I went to the Four-Sect Alliance, and he is what I have prepared to deal with Lu Mei. However, what is interesting is that while I was at the Four-Sect Alliance, I met a cultivator named Wang Lin. His talent was ordinary and there was nothing special about him. Yet he was able to comprehend the life and death domain. In the heat of the moment, I made him the fourth candidate on a whim. I originally didn't pay much attention to this person, but his development later on shocked me greatly. At the Celestial Realm, he took Red Butterfly's arm. After he returned, his cultivation level skyrocketed and he even caught the attention of Zhuke. This person also has too many secrets, and sometimes even I can't see through him. Thus, in the end, I picked him as the main candidate for my plan. Even now he is still the main candidate, and also the most crucial component of my plan. The figure pondered a bit before raising his head. He then stared coldly at Yangtze and said, "This explanation is still not enough." Yangtze's eyes became serious and he said, "I don't know how much the cultivation planet crystal will affect my Forsaken Immortal clan. If it does have an effect, then all of the clan members that were born since the cultivators took over will die, including you and me. Is this explanation enough?" The figure pondered again. Then he let out a sigh and said, "Who was the first candidate you picked?" Yangtze faintly smiled. "When the messenger has completed his task and if nothing goes wrong, then my first candidate will become the next Suzaku." The figure finally asked, "Why give Zhuke 3 months?" "Because I want to wait until he activates the cultivation planet crystal. I won't act now, but when I do, I won't give Zhuke a chance." Outside the transfer array to Chu, Wang Lin looked at the burly man who had taken off his straw hat. Although Wang Lin's heart trembled slightly, it didn't show in his face. He smiled and said, "Long time no see, Brother Zhou." The burly man put the straw hat down on the side, slapped his bag of holding, and took out table with cups on it. He said, "Brother Wang, I'm craving a bit of wine. Do you still have any of that wine from back then?" Wang Lin's eyes faintly lit up as he looked at the straw hat. He slapped his bag of holding and a bottle of wine appeared in his hand. When he looked at the wine, the image of Donghua appeared in his mind. After all these years, he had less than 10 bottles of Donghua's wine left. He placed the wine on the table, sat down, poured a cup, and drank it all in one go. Zhou Wutai let out a mischievous smile as he picked up the wine, poured himself a full cup, and took a sip. Then he said, "The wine is still the same as before and the person is still the same as before, but our hearts are completely different now. Although the setting is the same as before, the two of us have changed." Wang Lin pondered. He held the cup and didn't speak. "Brother Wang, aren't you curious about why I am not dead? I still remember when you took the rain cauldron from me." Zhou Wutai looked at Wang Lin with a smile that was not a smile. Wang Lin calmly said, "Rather than Red Butterfly getting it for cheap, I took it. However, even if I didn't, I believe Brother Zhou had other plans anyway."